So, you cold Lutherans, you can't do just three. I know some of you are introverts whom the Lord made also, and that means that your energy comes from within. And you come here and you say, you know, I'm here on a Saturday. I just want to sit here and listen to people do stuff, and then I'll leave, okay? I come to church, I just want to sit here and worship God and leave. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Yeah, the Church of Jesus Christ is all about you. Thank you for reminding us of that. Get over yourselves. The Church of Jesus Christ is not here for you. The Church of Jesus Christ is here for the proclamation of the gospel, for the salvation of humankind. And that may mean you have to be a little disoriented out of your introvert self. So brace yourselves, my introverts. I just need a few moments of even fake extroversion. You have to do more than three. You have to get away from where you're sitting. If you can't move comfortably, which I completely understand, then stay where you are, and folk will come to you. And look up at them and smile. Introduce yourself, and just have a moment of warmth. More than three. That's the rule. Okay? Go. Hey, so I want to talk about this question of who are these young adults. I want to start with definitions first, okay? There's a lot of conversation, and I appreciate about this. Amy raised the question with me about how helpful is it to make definitions? Do we have to define who these young adults are? For my research purposes, you have to, obviously. And so I did 19 to 35-year-olds was my major research interest group, okay, young adults. Now, when I talk about young adults as a group, though, I tend to say 20s and 30s. What I discovered is if you say there's a young adult gathering at so-and-so's house, and you don't put in parentheses the age range, who's going to show up? A bunch of 50 and 60-year-olds. Okay, if you have an AARP card, you're not in the category. You may think you are, but you ain't. Okay? This is a little bit unfair, but those of you who are in the category, and there are a handful of you in the room, you're kind of ageist. I mean, you really are. If you go into a group and you see about a bunch of 50 and 60-year-olds, it's why the term singles doesn't work. We have a singles ministry. You get 50 and 60-year-old widows, widowers, and divorcees. And that doesn't, young adults hate to be called singles, because it sounds like we're damaged and we're not quite, of course, some are. But still, need to, come on, get therapy. Come on, and need to, find a mate, a partner, etc., all of that. So I think definitions are going to be crucial. So I usually say to churches, congregations, when you're talking about young adult ministry, put in parentheses 20s and 30s. I mean, you don't have to. If you want to be cute, I was in one congregation in Texas, in Houston, and they do roaring 20s and 30-somethings, and they have all these cute names. That's fine, but the language can get too tribal, which means it just is understood among people who are in part of the tribe. So if you even do cute language, you still have to define it somehow. So folks who are immigrants, there's a shift in education in the church. We're talking about less tribal education and more immigrant education. Immigrant education not simply meaning those who are not born in the United States. The single fastest growing group, according to the American Religious Identification Survey, ARIS, last year, 2009, is none. The nuns in the United States. These are not folks who wear black and white as a faith statement, okay? These are people who say that they really don't have any faith identification whatsoever. It's the single fastest growing group. It's 16% of the U.S. population. Among 20, 30-somethings, it's 57%. Nuns. Their background is Lutheran, Presbyterian, Methodist, Baptist, Episcopalian, but right now they say they're none. I live in Southern Baptist land in Atlanta, Georgia, where there are more Baptists than there are citizens in the state of Georgia. This is true. And the Baptists are concerned because by the year 2011, the category of none is going to overtake Southern Baptists as the larger group in the Religious Identification Survey, second only in the U.S. to Roman Catholics. So these nuns are huge. This category of nuns, it's a huge category. By the way, these 1935-year-olds, according to the 2000 U.S. Census, 21% of the U.S. population at 56 million people. Part of the myth is, oh, there are so few of them. No, they're almost a quarter of the population, just this age group, 1935. 56 million of them, and they're not with us. So, the conversation. What about Gen Xers? Most generational theorists place Generation X as those born 61 to 81. So today, Generation Xers are 29 to 49 years old. So you can't just say this is Generation X ministry. Because Generation Xers, actually, if we're talking about 19 and 35 or 20 and 30s, are a combination of Xers and the generation following them called millennials. So it isn't synonymous to say we have a great Gen X ministry and young adult ministry. You've got Gen Xers who are 49, and they're getting their AARP card now, okay? So if you are 19 to 35 years old in that category, young adults, or I would say 20s and 30s, raise your hand. Wow. Okay, that's more than I expected of you, interestingly. Because as the ELCA, you are one of the oldest churches in the United States, not just by your history, but in terms of the average age in the pews or chairs, as the case may be. Who's older than you are? Do you know? Episcopalians are older than you are. American Yearbook of Churches says the Episcopalian Church reports the average age, and this is just attendance, including children who are not quote-unquote members. Average age for Episcopalians is 62 years old is the average age in the pews for Episcopalians. You're about 58, 58.5 ELCA. We Presbyterians are just below you, heh, at 57.9. The average age in the U.S., 33.4 years. We're 20 years older than the average age in the United States. So we are a challenge. That's part of what's going on with us, okay? So, some definitions. How would you describe them? So I just want to line out some descriptors, not prescriptive, and you can disagree. I actually like that, and some conversation. Oh, this is interesting. Huh. Well, I'll be darned. It's coming. It's almost done. Okay, this is what happens when you convert from Mac to PC. This is what happens when you go from the land of light to darkness. To the evil side. Yeah, okay, Philip. Thank you, Debbie. Huh, interesting. Yeah, Bill Gates. Anyway, so how would you describe them? They tend to view the world as ethnically diverse. Among 20 and 30-somethings, the majority already are non-majority Anglo. Among 20, 30-somethings in the U.S., the majority are already non-majority Anglo. Okay? That's also going to be a challenge for you ELCA folk. Because while there are people in our midst right now who are brown and black and etc., the vast majority of you, when you think about issues of race and culture, you think about Swedish versus Norwegian versus German. That's racial ethnic diversity for you, historically, okay? The challenge for us is the younger population is hugely ethnically diverse. And since you're so white, and since you're so old, strike one, strike two. Strike three, you are one of the most educated people in the United States. You have more degrees in your chairs, in your pews, than most people in the country. Only a quarter of the country, really 27% of adults, have bachelor's degrees. Less than 11% have a master's degree. Less than 1% have a doctoral degree. And you skew that as Lutherans because you value education, like we Presbyterians. We have a history of this, you and I. We have more degrees in our pews than most folks in other traditions. So strike three, we're also highly educated. And that means we're an older, whiter, childless church. Because there is a correlation between educational attainment and childbirth. The more degrees you have, the fewer children you have.